What's up, everybody? I'm back here with one of the greatest bass players of our time ever to pick up the instrument. And I am so happy and proud to have been able to play with him. Y'all make some noise for George Porter Jr. Hear him, right? You can hear him making noise for you. How you doing? You doing all right?
I'm doing great, boo. I'm writing and recording here at home, and I've been having a wonderful time. It's been great.
That's great. I'm glad to hear it. It's good to stay busy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Keep an old mind, busy. If I'm not doing something, I'm sleeping.
Yeah, right.
I can't even look at a movie anymore. I mean, every movie I ever bought looked at me.
Yeah, right? That's hilarious. Yeah, so I want to ask you a couple questions today. The first one, which I'm very curious about, is what was it like to play in clubs in the 60s and 70s?
Well, in the '60s and pretty much a lot of the early '70s, we were playing predominantly black clubs and theaters. The Apollo, the Uptown Theater, the Philadelphia Theater.
Yeah.
I'm playing on shows, like that. With artists like from everybody from the Staple Singers to the Isley Brothers.
Oh, that's
Um, so so it was it was cool, pretty cool. Back then it was, the club dates were more called chitlin circuits.
right.
Uh, um,
So it
you
was
know,
sense.
so we didn't really move into playing into almost majority. I think right after we did that Rolling Stones tour, it was almost like, and that was in '75. It was almost like we immediately our price tag went up.
Yeah.
And those little black clubs couldn't pay us no more.
Okay.
And so we ended up playing to medium sized white clubs,
Yep.
and pretty much majority white audiences, But that was like the 70, 75, pretty much, to get almost directly to the point is that as a band, we didn't run into a whole lot of racism, for the most part. I mean, we kind of knew what was going on out there in the world. And I can't remember what it was, but we played in Philadelphia. It was the Uptown Theater.
Yep.
And at we had the bill that night was the meters, I think the 5 stair steps, and the Last Poets.
Mm.
And and that same night, it was a Saturday night. There was a big Black Panther rally going on. Huey Newton was in town, and they had this big rally going on, and they were all expected to come to the theater because of the Last Poets.
Right, because yeah.
Because a lot of those Last Poet guys, went on to be individual solo artists, on their own. But that was the only one time I can kind of remember the tension of man, that this could be a riot. If anything went down weird, and RT used to kind of keep us in check, about don't do this, don't do that.
Yeah.
Shut your mouth. Don't talk back to nobody. If anybody says something to you, don't talk back. And at the time, it was just the 4 of us. So Cyril wasn't in the band yet. But once Cyril got into the band, it kind of got a touch and go kind of thing because Cyril was not the kind of person that was going to not say nothing,
Anything.
He was definitely, and by that time, Zigaboo started, him and Zig were both wearing army fatigues and stuff, They had moved into radicalism, which, luckily, I mean, I'm happy and surprised that we're still alive
Yeah.
because we were out there playing, we were there doing all that time.
Right. Yeah.
But of course, then and again, I don't remember seeing or hearing about, and I may be wrong, and maybe somebody will correct me, but I just never heard of black artists being harassed and beat up and that kind of stuff. I mean, I think white America loved our music, you
Right.
know,
Mm.
and the last thing they were going to do is kill us,
Right.
because then they wouldn't have no music to listen to.
Right. Exactly. No, I hear you. So, actually, there was a story. I think there was a story about the night that or the day that Martin Luther King was shot. You said you played in the club that day, right? That night.
Well, that night, that was we were still on Bourbon Street at the club called Ivanhoe, the day that Martin Luther King was killed, and our then saxophone player at the time in the band was named Gary Brown,
Yep.
and Gary Brown, he was an antagonist. I believe that's the best the way to say it.
Yeah.
And because we were playing a gig, in a predominantly white club on Bourbon Street, where during the '60s, that it was uptight anyway, and it was a piano bar, so it's like Art was in the middle, the piano in the shape of the piano winner, and then that ball, and people would sit. So I believe on the Zig was over on the right hand corner, then Gary Brown, Art, myself, and then Leo, or either me and Leo. I don't remember who was next to Art. I think it might have been me.
Okay.
But Gary Brown, the people sat down in front of Gary Brown, two couples sat in front of Gary Brown, and one of the ladies just kept on bugging him about, what's your name? What's your name? And he just, he kept on saying TN, TN, and the lady kind of got aggravated, what's TN, and he, so he used the N word. He said tough, N word.
Yeah.
And man, her old man got really upset about that. Told the club owner, the manager, not the owner, but the manager, and the manager, told, oh man, you gotta hold down your boys, man. They're like, you can't have them talking to the people like that, So when Art told Gary about about the thing, naturally Gary quit the band that night. He finished the gig and said, I don't want to have no more parts of this. But when we were packing up that night and we reached and it was cleaning out the tip jar, there was a 22 bullet in the bottom of the bottom of the tip jar.
That's crazy.
That was that probably was the very first time that that something like that went down. The first and only time I've never found a bullet in my tip jars.
Bullet in my tip jar either. Thank God. That's really crazy. But I wanted to ask you too, like, do you think that times have got better, or like if things changed, like over the years, being a black man that, grew up in the South and, was around during segregation and all of that, what do you think of what's happening today? You think we have progressed any?
I'm not sure if there's any progression
Yeah.
made, because I mean, absolutely the same argument, the same fight that black men have been fighting from this when Martin Luther King was marching is pretty much the same fight we're doing now. The only difference between then and now is that, you know, back then, we used to wake up and find a body in the alley somewhere or hanging from a tree. Today it's on TV. With people with cell phones and stuff. I mean, you watch it go down as it's going down.
Yeah.
And so I don't believe that our situations are any better than they were. I mean,
yeah,
we're trying to. I was recently told that the black community in the United States is only 13% of the the voting population.
Yeah.
Which is that means that we're gonna always be on the short end of the stick.
Right.
Unless we start making a whole shitload of babies.
Or just start, showing up. I mean, that's the thing, is that I kind of feel like the census is not really accurate as far as how many people actually live in the country that are minorities or whatever. But it's more of a sense of we got to show up. I think that all minorities have to show up and vote. But
Oh yeah, absolutely. I believe. I mean, I always say, I say it from the stage because two things that I don't want to do is, because I know I have friends. I have people that are friends that call me friend. That voted for the other guy.
yeah.
And have a lot of that other guy concept about the way the United States should be ran or being ran.
Right.
But those people honestly, they truly care a lot about me. Right. And they're good. I find them as good people. I'm not particularly crazy about their politics.
Right.
So I have to when I mention off the stage that that is important. I don't care who you vote for. I just think you need to vote, because when you don't vote, that vote that you don't put in automatically is a vote for the person that you probably don't want to win.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, so even if you vote for the R's, and not for the D's, if you don't vote.
Yeah, you're not.
Two things that my mom used to always tell me, because for years and years and years, I didn't vote. I was a non-participant, and then I would start. Well, I would get in an argument about something, and I would say something about what's going on, and my mom would turn around and tell me, she said, "Until you vote, you got no word in this conversation.
You can't say nothing.
So shut shut up." Go somewhere else with your ideas, or go register to vote. And then when you register to vote, then you have a horse in the race.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, but I do know that it's hard for a lot of minorities to vote. It's not easy, and that's kind of part of the system, and why there's people that are fighting for voting rights. Because there's people that are voting and it's not even making it to where it needs to go. But again, it is important to do whatever you can.
Right, absolutely.
This, I think that a lot of people focus too much on the primary. They focus too much on just voting for the president. It's yo, you got representatives, you got senators, and you got all these people, judges and all these other people that make up the government.
Right. And you have you got local things to take care of, So a lot of I mean, we always looking at what's happening in the nation and kind of ignoring what's happening in the backyard, and and yeah, we get some stuff down here in this backyard that's make you want to say, what the hell? How that happen?
Gotta fix that for sure. Yeah. Well, thanks for spending some time with me tonight, and all the people at Justice Comes Alive. We really appreciate it, and I can't wait to play with you again.
Oh yeah, me too, Nick. It's always a pleasure playing with you, bro. You know, just like you're just a solid. You have just a solid pocket, and you have a wonderful voice. I like your singing too. You know.
Thanks, man. But I always learn something when I play with you. You know, and, like that's amazing to be able to play with a wealth of knowledge. Like I really appreciate it, and we love you, man. Thank you.
No, we love you too, bro.
All right.